Hey VC, what's up? It's me, yours truly. I am back to post another quick video here. Finally gotten around to getting all my picks done for the 2021 vinyl tag. So that's what I'm going to do this time around. So considering this is going to be, I don't know, maybe not too long of a video, but let me just kind of jump right into it so it's not. Question number one, a discovery in 2020. So that would be, excuse me, this one right here, which is I don't know if it's Adna, I believe is how you pronounce it, Run Lucifer. This was an album that I discovered, during the whole quarantine, binge watching Netflix. There was this series I was watching, I think it was called The Rain, kind of one of those apocalyptic type of things, kind of a B budget, type of thing. But I just kept noticing through all these different scenes, there was just this, excuse me, awesome kind of synth popish type of music that was always playing in the background. And one time I heard a song off of this album and I was just like, holy cow, I gotta find out who the heck that is. And discovered they happened to have pressed something on vinyl, and that was just all cool in the gang. But yeah, so that was definitely a good discovery for 2020. And again, it's very kind of synth pop, but it's kind of dark, more of a dark type of synth pop, definitely slower, that type of thing. But very, very good album. So that was a nice discovery. Quarantine by, I guess I could have utilized that, but about 9 or 10 months ago, I did pick this up, which is Muriel Grossman, Golden Rule. Was very, very happy to get this because when I first discovered her, she had already had this pressed once, and it was on that Gem label over in the UK, like RR Gem or something like that. But they only press a small number. It's a small label, and she's not a gigantic artist and that type of thing. So it was hard to get any of her first copies, and people were asking like $150 plus for them. But then I discovered that there was a second pressing coming around where they made 1,000 copies, and I was able to get one of those as soon as they came out. So that was really, really awesome. But if you are a jazz fan, especially if you are a John Coltrane fan, you have got to dig into Muriel Grossman, because she, in my opinion, she is John Coltrane reincarnated. John Coltrane came back as a white European lady. And I mean, she plays like a champ. She is so awesome. So that was a great quarantine pickup. An LP you want to find in 2021. As weird as it may sound, there's not like one that I'm just so craving to get my hands on and looking for like crazy. I'm really at the stage now that I'm just 100% just completely just being opportunistic whenever I'm looking around or whatever else, because there's reissues coming out that I would like to get. There's OG pressings of things that I already have that I would like to get an OG pressing of, and it's just really kind of seeing what comes around. I don't have a very specific search at this point. So next, let's see, LP you want to find in 2021. Oh, a box set. So I do love box sets. Actually, thanks to Robert Z. You guys remember him here in the VC. He's still posting some things under a different channel name. But yeah, a few years ago, he really kind of influenced me a lot to clean up my collection and purge things. And I got really, really particular about the condition of things I brought in. And then box sets, getting into box sets were something else that he really influenced. So this is a very cool one I thought I would share, which is the Phil Collins Take a Look at Me Now box set with all of Phil's studio albums. And this was one that was done much like the Iron Maiden sets were done, where you bought the box and 2 albums came in the box, and you pay like $40 something for that. I think I paid like $38 for mine down in Texas. And then every couple of months they reissue 1 or 2 of the albums, and you just pick them up. And now I know some people hate that. I love when they do that, because I feel like it actually gives more of us an opportunity to get those box sets. Because if you're like me, I don't have $500 to say, oh, the new Ozzy box set is out. Great. Where's your $500 at? And it's just kind of like, I can't drop 500 bones on a box set. But if you give me a box set for $50 now, and every couple of months you reissue a bunch of albums out there that you can get in different places and we can fill up the box, I can handle that. So I personally, I like that. But just to give you kind of a quick show of what was in this box set, the one thing that he did was he went back and redid all the album covers the exact same way he did them on the originals. He just took current pictures of him as an older guy, which is really cool. So just a quick flash there. Hello, I Must Be Going. No Jacket Required. All the same tracks and everything. But seriously, Both Sides. Dancing to the Light. And this is the one I was really happy that they ended up pressing, which is Testify, because I don't know if that had been released on vinyl or not, but it has one of my favorite songs by him, which is I Can't Stop Loving You, which is fantastic. And then Going Back There, which is basically just kind of some covers that he does of different things. But that's a pretty cool set right there. And again, one that they let you piece together over time, which is very nice. All right. So next question, a concept album. Let's see. Somehow these got out of order, I think. Oh no, I said it over here. My bad. Iron Maiden, Somewhere in Time. I believe this is based on a concept album there. Definitely still one of my top, if not my top favorite Iron Maiden albums. You know, this and Power Slave are definitely two that I go back and forth with all the time. But this still has a little bit of an edge because this was my introduction to Iron Maiden. My friend Matt gave me this tape one time and I had no idea who Iron Maiden was and never heard of him, and I saw that cover and I was like, I don't care what this is, I have to like it. Like it's a must. And I fell in love with this album. So songs like Caught Somewhere in Time, Wasted Years, Sea of Madness, Heaven Can Wait, fantastic. Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner, Stranger in a Strange Land, Deja Vu, Alexander the Great. Basically every song on here is great. So I just named them all. But yeah, really, really good record right there. Actually, I'm going to leave this out because I'm going to spin this once this video is over. An album where an artist or band changed directions. Quite a few to choose from there, but we're going with In This Moment. This is their album Blood, which I believe was their fourth album. Their first three albums I thought were all great, and then on this fourth album, a couple members left the band. Brink was, the singer has always been the lead singer, so she was still there, but they really did take a different turn with this album. In their earlier albums, especially their first one, Beautiful Tragedy, which was great, they were definitely more metal. A lot more just kind of palm muted rhythm type things. Her doing just really guttural type of, screams and just really kind of heavy stuff. And they weren't scared to mix in melodies and things like that, but they were still kind of bringing it in a very metal way. Once those few members left and this album came out, they went from that to a little more, this is more of a Marilyn Manson electronic type of metal thing. This definitely falls more on those lines. So they definitely left what they did before. So I don't like this as much. Still a good album, but I like the first three albums a lot better than this one. But so that's In This Moment. Let's see, a white label promo. I decided to share this one here, which is Miles Davis. Circle in the Round. It's kind of crazy too, because for the longest time I didn't realize that was a white label promo. I bought it years ago and I'd listened to it here and there, but before I even really started caring about white label promos, I just hadn't really listened to it much, and pulled it out a few months ago and I was like, holy cow, that's a white label promo. I had no idea. So that will work for that one. A compilation album. We'll go with this one here. Logos All Routes there, which is basically kind of a compilation of a bunch of different African and world artists, what it boils down to. So I'm not even sure you probably recognize a lot of the names on here. I'm sure some of you do. This is the VC. But one of the main reasons I came to this album was because one of my favorite African artists, who is Sir Victor Uwaifo, was on here, and so that made me check it out initially. But it's a really good album from front to back. So that's compilation album, an album that tells a story. Wasn't 100% clear, but the meaning I took from that, I just knew I'll just go right to my country section, because there's a ton of, every country album tells a story. And this is Erin Enderlin, Faulkner County. I thought this was a good one to pick. Billy Hurst introduced me to her a number of months ago, but you know, she's not a huge label artist, which is actually kind of cool, because I was watching some of her videos on YouTube and I made a couple comments on them, and sure as crap, she popped up and responded to some of the comments, just like thanking me and thanking people for her kind words about the record and that type of thing. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I was hoping to contact her in some way to get an autograph, but didn't quite work out. But yeah, I mean, Erin Enderlin, just like a lot of country music, just tells great stories, and a lot of the stuff on here is just about, heartache and the struggling times, and same thing that most country artists sing about. My favorite song is probably "I Can Be Your Whiskey," which is kind of cool. But yeah, great album, great 2 LP set. Highly recommend that one for any country fans. An album that needs a vinyl pressing. Of course, there's a gazillion things we could put on that list, especially for a lot of the metal, early thrash fans, and any of the 90 alternative stuff. There's a tons there. But if someone came to me today and said, tomorrow we are going to go and press a record of your choice, we're going to make it the best quality, 2 LP, 45 RPM, just tell us what you want, Brandon, I'm going to say, well, I can't just have one, I need all 3 of these. Which, based on my last video of me telling you that Godsmack was my favorite band, it's kind of no surprise. And that's Awake, Faceless, and 4 would be the 3 to press. Now, their debut album, they've pressed on vinyl, and I have a copy of it. I was lucky enough to get it when it first came out, but I don't like it because it's a picture disc, but still, I'm just happy that it was pressed. But yeah, the second album, third album, and fourth album, I would give anything to have those on vinyl. If they made me narrow it down to one, okay, fine. Just give me Awake. Just give me Awake, and I'll be a happy man. I want those on vinyl so bad I can taste it. Okay, so the next question, where are we? Album needs to be on. Okay, a common album and an uncommon album. What I figured I would do here is just kind of stick to a genre. So I decided to go with soundtracks. And I am a big 80s fan, especially when it comes to soundtracks and movies. Just the 80s were just golden to me. Matter of fact, the only DVDs that I collect, which are kind of right up here, that I actually keep out, are 80s movies. And all the 80s comedies, and just the classic stuff that made the 80s. So a couple of those movies that kind of go along with that on the common side would be Vision Quest. Most people know this album, know the movie, the whole nine, an amazing movie, and all that good stuff. And of course, with Journey, John Waite, Madonna, Dio, Red Rider, Sammy Hagar, Foreigner, there was just a awesome album. So that's probably the common one. And I thought maybe an not so common 80s movie that I'm a huge fan of is Tough Enough. I'd be curious if those of you who are very familiar with this movie. Starred Dennis Quaid from 1983, I believe. But it was just kind of, again, one of those little '80s movies. It just kind of became a thing, and it was about, Dennis Quaid is a guy who's kind of down his luck a little bit. He and his wife are struggling financially, like most people are, and he decides to enter a tough man contest, and he starts doing really well. And it's just all the stuff that kind of goes along with it, but. Really good soundtrack. Songs like "I Was Born a Dreamer," performed by Mickey Gilley, who always seems to show up and make fantastic country songs that go with soundtracks. Whether it's something from this album, or if you look at what else did he do? Urban Cowboy. He had great stuff on there, but he just always puts his 2 cents in the right place on soundtracks. Title track Tough Enough. And even the song "Rainbows Never Touch the Ground," which Dennis Quaid actually does. It's a pretty good song. So that's probably my more uncommon album from some of my 80s soundtracks, that just a movie I love to death. So an EP, let's go with this one here, which is Metallica Beyond Magnetic, which came out shortly after Death Magnetic. I guess these were just like some unreleased tracks or something like that. Tracks that didn't make the cut on Death Magnetic, I assume. But 4 songs: Hate Train and Just a Bullet Away on side 1, and Hell and Back and Rebel of Babylon on side 2. And quite frankly, Just a Bullet Away should have been put on the album, because it's better than a good chunk of stuff that's on Death Magnetic, quite frankly. But yeah, this is just a cool little 4-track EP that came out in 2011, I think. Yeah, it's a good pick. It's still sealed, actually. I guess it's silver vinyl, but I have the CD, so I just never got around to opening this. But I'm kind of glad I didn't, because you can see I paid $12.99 for it when it came out, and these things are going for like $100 now. So kind of cool to still have that. Have a nice sealed copy of that. Let's see, what's next? A girl group. I decided to go with Climax. Kind of giving some of the females some love in the 80s R&B. And Climax is a group that almost defined much like Cameo. And you guys know Cameo, Word Up and all that. But I've always defined Cameo as being one of the most rock and roll R&B groups, because they just kind of had a rock and roll attitude. We're going to do it our way. We're not following any rules. We're not sticking to what R&B says we're supposed to do, or how we're supposed to look, or what an R&B song is. Like, they just did what they wanted to do. Climax is definitely the female version of Cameo. They kind of just did the things they wanted to do in the ways they wanted to do it. Some stuff sounded very R&B. Some stuff sounded kind of, where'd you guys come up with that? But this is definitely their best album overall. If you haven't heard it before, songs to check out. I Miss You was kind of a big ballad hit, and it was a very good track. But Meeting in the Ladies' Room is probably my favorite song. And then The Men All Pause is another song on here that, it kind of shows their creativity as well. But yeah, very, very cool group. On the ladies' 80s side. Next question here. An album cover you love. Quite a few to pick from there, so I really just kind of picked the first one that I could get my hands on. And I decided to go with this one here, which is Enya, A Day Without Rain. And I've always thought this is just an amazing album cover, because number one, I think it captures her really well there. But just like the warmth of the tones in the album cover. I've always liked the worn wood that's there. And so like even the stuff that she's using as her backdrop looks like artwork. So you take a picture of that, it looks like artwork. So yeah, that's an awesome album cover, and not to mention my favorite Enya album, so that definitely helps too. So that's a cover you love. An album that you've listened to the most. Surprise, surprise, I'm showing this album again. Western Stars by Bruce Springsteen. Are you guys tired of me talking about this already? But yeah, if you look at the albums I've been listening to for the past year or so, I definitely think I've played this album more than any other. Maybe Godsmack's When Legends Rise. That could be a close second, but between this or that, one of these two are definitely the ones I've listened to the most. But I almost give the nod to Western Stars. I can't get enough of that album. Let's see. So that's the album you've listened to the most. An album you had to get an OG copy of. There's plenty of albums that I want to get OG copies of, and I'm always on the lookout and that type of thing. But the only one I could really think of that from day one I was like, no way will I accept a reissue. I just absolutely has to be an original pressing. And I don't even know why, because I wasn't crazy about original pressings back then. But it was this The Shadows of Nights by Gloria. Or, yeah, the Gloria's, I can say that right. The Shadows of Nights Gloria. Yes. And this is the Dunwich 666 pressing right there, as you can see on the bottom. And I don't know why, but just from the time I first started collecting, I just felt like I had to have the original 1966 pressing of that. And this is the US mono pressing. So can't explain that one at all. Next one, the last album you purchased would be this one here, which is Jermaine Stewart. This is an album that has Say It Again on it, which is one of my favorite songs by him. And it's just his last album I need to get in my collection. I think he only had 3 studio albums. He passed away of AIDS, sadly enough, but he left some good music with us before he did. And Say It Again is a fantastic track on here. And he used to, if anyone maybe that does not know him very well, he's the one that had the big hit, We Don't Have to Take Our Clothes Off. He also sang and danced background for Culture Club. If you listen to songs like Miss Me Blind, you can totally hear him sing in the background, that type of thing. So that's Jermaine. An album they don't get. I think that meant, that something you would love for other people to love more if they just don't quite get it the way you get it. And I'm going with this one here. Actually, I could say album and movie that people don't get, because Grease 2 is the best. The soundtrack is awesome. The movie is fantastic. Never get tired of listening to it or watching it. So yeah, love that to death. Listen to it all the time. I literally did listen to that last week. Okay, the last 2 questions. Sorry, looking around the edge of my screen here. A punk album. I just did a Give Me 5 on the punk, so just kind of went in and picked out another one here. And this is the Avengers 0 Hour. And this is from 1979. It was a live performance by them. It didn't come out to 2003. Which is actually a question that I would like to ask you guys. I'll mention another video too. This is way towards the end, so some people might not get to it. But if an album came out, right, and let's say the album's been around forever, but it was never pressed on vinyl, and then it's a 20-year anniversary. So for the first time on vinyl, we were issuing this album. Is that considered an original pressing to you, or is that just considered, you say 20th anniversary, or you say reissue? If it's the first time it's ever been pressed on vinyl, even if it was 20 years ago, is that still technically an OG or original pressing to you? Be very curious what your answer is to that. And I was just thinking about that again because this was recorded in 79 but didn't come out until 2003. And this is the 2003 the Italian pressing, I'm sorry. But a very interesting record. Kind of good stuff, Penelope Houston, lead singer there. The thing I say about this record from a punk perspective, very, very pop songs. If you listen to the melodies and the chord changes and all of that, very much a pop song. If you listen to her lyrics and kind of in the way she's delivering the lyrics, like I don't know the proper terminology, the rhythm, the cadence, whatever you want to say, very pop. But it feels like what they did was they said, let's take this and play it very rough, very raw, and very punk. And I'm going to sing it very rough, very raw, and very punk. So it's kind of like those two things coming together, in my opinion. So I don't know, just a little bit I can throw in about that. But last but not least, what's the last question there? Oh, favorite 2020 reissue. That was easy because this was the album that gave me the most excitement about being reissued when I saw it. I almost lost my mind. Collective Soul. And this is another great example. This is their 1995 self-titled album. And so this came out in 2020, and it's the 25th anniversary. First time on vinyl. So is that an original pressing now? Or is that just the 25th anniversary pressing? Period. So very curious to hear what you guys think about that. But, excuse me. So, yeah, there we go. 2021 vinyl tag. Didn't make that too long, actually. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate you tuning in. Of course, let me know what you think. Let me know the answer to that question at the end. And as always, we will talk to you soon.